Greetings. I got my phone on the charger, so I gotta let it sit up. Man, let's give honor to the source, to the Most High, to the ancestors known and unknown, for the highest good of all. I had a deep purge. Shout out to you, whoever you are on this journey, wherever you are. I feel like every time I purge, my skin, my body, everything feels lighter. I do this shit like as authentically as possible. I remind people that some things are sacred. Some shit ain't for recording. Some shit ain't for everybody to see. It's just for you and source, the divine, whatever you subscribe to. I would encourage you all to look in Ho'oponopono. I've spoken about this years ago, spoken about this a while back. It's come full circle for me. The reason being that it's so significant. If you are coming into enlightenment, healing, facing your shadow, facing your own darkness, I would recommend this personally because this is something I'm going to be doing in my classes, my events, my sold out events. It ain't even that it's going to so much be sold out. It's going to be just as much as like the videos will be for people. It'll be accessible for those when I have, huge events, grand events. I'm just speaking it out, knowing that it's going to happen. But even classes, events, private sessions, and so forth, because I always come in alignment with videos that remind me of how your present moment person, whoever you are now, is building towards who you're becoming. And in that, you have to know who you are now. And that's why I speak about the fact of, in me knowing that I'm a student and then sharing this knowledge, or being a teacher, is knowing how what I done young is what I'm going to do as I, progress in life. And it's like, it's an excitement around it. It's something to look forward to because I love it. It has really showed me to have a vow to protect not only my inner child more and more, but one thing, like when you research Ho'oponopono, and it starts with an H, I believe it's H-O-P-O, Ho'opono, is it Ho'oponopono? Ho'opono. Listen, it's exactly how I'm saying it. You have to look up either ancient Hawaiian prayer or Hawaiian prayer. But either way, it's very significant. Where I am currently in my life, and this is something just, personally I'll share. I realize in a lot of my connections, relationships, it talks about, even in the ancient, like the prayer itself, when you say these things, or it's allowing you to take full responsibility for your reality, for your purpose, for what not so much you allowed, but also in what you didn't have control over, because the prayer breaks down in 4 different positions of like, I don't like to say the word I'm sorry, I say I apologize. And it's a form of not just, whomever you have a picture of, or even like I would recommend you finding a picture of yourself. And even if you don't, there's, you can visualize your little self, a little boy, little girl. And you're apologizing for not only what you could not control, but you're apologizing. Like for me, what I've done, I apologize for not being able to protect myself, or apologizing to the inner child to realizing that you had people in your life who did not know how to protect you. It's not your fault. You're apologizing just for certain things, whether you didn't have control over, and or apologizing for abandoning that little boy and girl for so long. So what this does, there will be a lot of, I would recommend like encouraging people to really be in a silent place, or a place whether at home or where so much secluded, so you can, like, there is a purge, like that. When we imagine having a picture of yourself, and this is a part of you that you've been running for so long, and what can come up is like, you'll come back, you'll be able to come back home to yourself and not look externally for people who should have apologized for what they, what you've experienced with them. And that goes into even not just you having a picture of yourself, but, this is also things that I'm going to be sharing in my events as well. Discussing how having photos of people that, whether spouse relationships, even abusers, what it does is going to, imagine the resentment, because what it does, it highlights the resentment, the anger, and it allows you to come within yourself to a place of letting go of this internal conflict. And the reason why this is so vital is that me personally, with a mother wound, or with the internal conflict I had towards or stemming from the mother wound, or the distorted mother, I carry that into my relationships. I carry that also with the mother of my children. And I realized how much it affected not only me, but our connection, how much it affected my daughter, how much it affected my son. And, I'm not going to go into detail so much about what personally has happened between us, but I recognize that we both have had things go on that doesn't involve either of us. I mentioned to her, even sharing with her my baby pictures. Like I didn't even realize I had this video, like, until I went to my grandmother's house years ago, and I realized, like, I had a baby picture of me and my other cousins that I grew up with, my sisters and so forth. And I remember at my grandmother's house, great grandmother's house, where this porch, we call it a porch, but really we were sitting on the steps, and all of us were lined up. And I just noticed me, like, leaning forward, like I was ready to go. But what a lot of came up, well, the reason me, screenshotting and sending her those pictures was me encouraging her, to remind her, like, I know things we went through personally that I cannot change. But I recommend, like, you doing the Ho'oponopono prayer, because I was this little boy before we connected. And I also had to express to her that I also realized that I had to do it for her too. Like, she had baby pictures, and I had to go through these different steps. And when I say so much came up, because I was not just only apologizing for the things that I inflicted, but the things I had no control over, for me unconsciously bleeding onto her, over things she has no control over. Like when it came to the resentment and anger, rage within what I've experienced with the matriarchal women in my family, or whatever relationships. And so with that, I also, sent her my pictures, giving people the opportunity. They don't have to do it. It's free will. You don't have to do whatever you want. But again, when me going through the process with her, what it does, it allows you to meet yourself deeper. And going through those steps of, like, I apologize, forgive me, and what else? Giving gratitude to what you've experienced and so forth. And then I love you. And again, it's seeing a mirror of yourself, reflecting of yourself, because what it does is, when the emotions or whatever comes up, because some people aren't able to forgive or accept or even give gratitude to the situation, let's say from an abuser. It takes a lot of courage, y'all, to really be on a fucking healing journey and face your shadows, because when we're talking about shifting and evolving, it takes a lot of fucking courage to go beyond the circumstances, the repetitive traumas, the unprocessed grief. This is the reason why, or the prolonged grief. This is why I mentioned Ho'oponopono, because not only do you have prolonged grief of what has happened and you pushed it down, but you're talking about complex PTSD of things that repetitively could have happened. And so sometimes unconsciously when we're in relationships, we repeat these traumas, and we repeat these things in different ways. This is not everyone, but this is also to bring you into a world of someone who has dealt with complex PTSD, who has come to the self-realization of how vital this is for him and be able to move forward, not caring and not looking for nobody outside of me, acceptance, validation and so forth. And this supports you to go beyond that. Because in that traumatic state or in that healing, sometimes we'll unconsciously seek that validation from a place of woundedness. And some of those very things is, think about, if someone had, you were inflicted with some type of trauma, whether sexually and so forth, that can show up differently. Because imagine when someone isn't or wanting to be intimate in such a way, for someone who has dealt with a trauma as such, they will feel abandoned or neglected. So a lot of this highlights abandonment wounds as well. Seeking validation is a form of an abandonment wound. Reassurance is different, but validation, and all these things, we have to validate ourselves. We have to reassure ourselves. A lot of this stems from the root chakra aspect. So again, going back to the fact of me, sharing that with her, there's things people have dealt with personally that they're not willing to grow beyond. And what ends up happening is that, using the term empath, this allows someone as such who's empathetic for themselves to not overextend anymore. This what can cause a relationship to dissolve and someone to move forward. That doesn't mean, again, settle. Is more so about meeting yourself deeper. Because a lot of rage and anger, I realized that when you hold a photo of a person that was a baby, you were not a part of their experience whatever they went through in their first 7 years. You were not held accountable for that. So a lot of us let's say we grew up in trauma bonds. Some of us feel accountable when we overextend, that we're accountable or entitled to fix these people. We're not. Because in pulling away or taking back your power has a lot to do with no longer overextending, no longer putting yourself in uncompromising positions. So the reason why I recommend this or encourage it is because, like I said, whether you find a picture of a person, there's still things I'm going to do. Like I have a list. Because I have a list of people that I still have to do it with, because what it allows me to do is no longer have this anger towards this individual, this resentment or something, like looking for an apology. How dare they treat me this way? It doesn't, it doesn't, invalidate your emotions, because they're valid. Like how you felt behind someone treated you, it's valid. That's one thing that, again, as I recommend these things, it's not to say that how you felt, how you was treated is invalid. Absolutely not. But that's what brings balance to be restored. Because when you have arguments and so forth, and someone's trying to tell you, well, this is how I feel, this is da-da-da-da-da, you're saying the same thing. You may not word it the same way, but being that a lot of us haven't grown up in healthy conflict resolution or how to find a common ground in certain things, whether you agree or disagree, it's getting to that place of peace. I'm at peace with where I'm at, to where however this person feels, it's valid. I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with it. Let them, they have this, whatever perception of me that they have at the end of the day, hey, if it's valid to them, that's their truth. That doesn't define who I am. So imagine people who have went through abuse like that. A lot of what they projected and bled onto people has a lot to do with their own internal compass, their self-concept, their belief system, their value system. And so now, in these stages where a lot of us are coming back home to ourselves, we start to realize like we did not deserve that. We it wasn't okay. Now we're able to move forward. This is with the Ho'oponopono. It allows one to resolve that which is unresolved, the internal conflict. Another example is, again, like I said, I haven't cried like that in so long. I'm talking about like the ugly cry, we call it, where snot's coming out, my head, the pressure. And what is happening is this is the emotional body purging. Spiritual, mental, emotional, some say astral and physical body. There's aspects of us. This is things that, imagine some of you growing up with a mother. I'll give examples. Let's say I know someone who didn't have a mother, right? Or grew up with a mother in childhood. So let's say their mother was physically there, but this person has dealt with emotional abandonment and or physical abandonment. Ask yourself this: have you even, how challenging it would be for you to hold up a picture of her or to have a picture of her? Because some of us are not ready to talk to these individuals, mothers, and some of them, people are going no contact. So in this moment where you are going no contact, this is where I recommend this. And supporting how you can progress, how you realize a lot. Also, this too is connected to your money wounds or your progression or how you perceive yourself and so forth in the world, how you develop relationships with women and other people. And unconscious behavior patterns or learned behavior patterns. So imagine you never really forgiving yourself and or her, never apologizing to yourself because of what you held on, because she didn't show up for you. You see how I bring it back to self? Because we can make it about other people, but the responsibility and the accountability in realizing that I created this reality is taking full responsibility over the fact of, you know what, am I giving control over this person? This person control unconsciously because of what they did not do. So imagine now, if I'm coming along and, you're wanting to be supported, if I'm mentoring you or teaching you, sharing something with you, like, hey, do you have a photo of your mother? Some people, this is what a lot of us will run from. Even if you don't physically want to see that person, you can still obtain a photo. You can go, some of you, Facebook, social media. And what I realize is, like, me personally, connecting to people who, let's say if you're dealing with a mother wound or abandonment wound or something, dealing with the emotional aspect, the feminine archetype or the matriarchal. Feminine and masculine is energy, but I'm talking about the deeper, the inner identity. And so with this now, I'm telling myself, like, okay, what I've had to do, I remember years ago I had to do this. I had to dissolve, or some may call cut cords, but I say dissolving the emotional cords with my mother. Now, how that played out, I recall doing this like before before my daughter was even like conceived. And what end up happening is that even later in years, because time is an illusion. So in that process of dissolving these things, when you're letting go of not so much the physical, there is a process of mental, spiritual, emotional that happens with that dissolving, because what happens is your identity around who you were with that person, not just physically, but the mental aspect of who you assume you were, the identity around that you developed from a childhood into now. And see, if that emotional exchange wasn't healthy, then naturally you developed an unhealthy attachment to other people. And or what can happen is without empathy or learning empathy for yourself, what ends up happening is that you lose your identity of having empathy for self. So you naturally will lose yourself in other people. And you will start becoming too attached. And then this is where you have combativeness or things come up and you're unaware of, which what ends up happening is in losing yourself, you become more of an individual, or you become more of something that you don't even recognize anymore. So these things have to happen to bring you home to, the empathy you lost for yourself due to that unhealthy attachment emotionally that you did not stabilize young, or did not, no one taught you or reminded you to have, is now what you're recalibrating or rebuilding into your later age, into your later, years and so forth. So again, this is also a part of apologizing to the version of yourself in relationships, or even apologizing to the little boy and girl or girl that who you were when you were younger. That's also who you have to apologize and forgive. See, the forgiveness aspect is like going deeper into like forgiving not just the individual, because it's their opportunity. They can forgive, but they don't have to. And see, this is where the overextension comes from. We lose ourselves in thinking that people have to do shit for us. They don't. They don't have to. This goes into the fact of knowing that when people get angry at how they have been treated, they can set boundaries, or they can withhold finances, withhold their access, or whatever it is, in whatever way they feel they should. Now, some of it can be perceived as a form of abuse, and some of it can be perceived as a form of just someone trying to set healthy boundaries. And either way, what ends up happening is that you remember, I don't know why I'm so focused on my hair right now. You remember who you are regardless. And see, that's the thing where you can be perceived as selfish when you're just being, some may call it empath, or being more empathetic towards yourself. You're not. It's not just pulling away. You're stepping away, but more into yourself. This also is the healing process. This also you getting to sit with yourself and realizing that this is showing me that this person never sat with this. That's why solitude or distance or clarity is so vital. Once you realize that when you distance yourself, you're able to build now upon that. And this is where it can be heartbreaking for some, or heart expansive. Because heartbreak can be in a sense of like the relationship not stabilizing any longer, or going much further than it has or will. But also you realizing that you could have broke your own heart by putting so much into something. But that's where you allow the healing to expand on that love with yourself, and then to align with those who value that. Still doesn't mean that other people won't remind you of that, but that's where the discernment comes in. That's where we don't lose our identity in other people, or lose ourselves with there's always going to be a balance with that. There's always going to be something to remind us of that. So again, um, what I've had to do over time, again, as I did the dissolving of the emotional cord cutting, I had to go through experiences where it took me to the root of where it began, if that makes sense. Like my childhood homes, my mother, certain things where it played out. How could I say that? It played out in a way of like me. After I did that, I think we actually returned to where I was, but we were still the mother of my children. Now we were still traveling, going through things, but it like I feel like for her at that moment, she had did a letting go or dissolving with like her father or something. And what's so wild about all of this is like life will have you in your letting go of these things, the energy will show up for you to not just navigate through, but to close out that chapter or that version of yourself with said individual and that energy. And this has been, and then that's the thing about the process of prolonged grief. It can take years, it can take months, but that's the thing. What's so worthy of is that the healing journey is a lifelong journey, because when you're talking about forgiving that little boy and girl from years ago, apologizing, being grateful, that's another step. Being grateful that these things happen. They can be challenging for people to actually acknowledge, to look at a photo of someone more so in themselves, like a little boy, a little girl themselves, like childhood version, and then also a mother and father, like, or people who have done certain things. That is challenging for people to go through them steps and then be able to give gratitude to the lesson, because that's one of the deepest parts. And also the last part is saying, I love you. Because see, that's the thing. It's like you're the love is not so much for the person, it's for the experience. And that's where, again, if you look within yourself, the resentment and the anger has a lot to do with that hatred towards that individual who inflicted that pain is something a lot of people are not able to have the courage to get past. It's not so much of the person that you love, it's to love and embrace that experience that you have hated for so long, that you have kept within your body. That's what's deeper. To say I love you to that individual is like a reflection of yourself. So it's the individual, but at the same time, it's the experience. And it's, how could I say, it's like the photo in itself is like, I love you. Like, I'm trying to go into depth to where I don't want to make it seem like you're like telling the person who inflicted or the abuser in this, I know where I'm getting at. It's not so much of an intimate setting. It's more so like, what is it? I apologize, forgive me, and yeah, I love you. It's just saying the love is expressed in a way of just something that I now have come to terms with, to accept. I feel like it's just a form of acceptance. So, and I know that in that process, it's like whatever comes up is purposeful. This is just what allows people to get through and pass it, because again, those steps can be very challenging for people. I guess I feel collectively what people can or pick up on, especially with those last two steps of saying like being grateful for the experience. Because that can, in someone's mind trying to process that, I could see the difficulty or the confusion around that. So I will say, like with grace, for some of you, like research more in what it expressed on why the gratitude and saying I love you is important. Because again, it's being able to hold space for the version of you and the experience, to be grateful, to be able to move past it. You see what I'm saying? To clear your consciousness or your body of that debris, of that memory, and so forth. So even when it comes up, it's now countering the thought around being able to transmute the pain of the experience. That's what I was getting to, the pain into wisdom. And that's what allow you to be able to share your experience. So it's like, I love that happened, because at a time I would hate it. You see what I'm getting at? So the pain into wisdom, because again, that just allow you to move past the situation. And again, from my experience, I could use like the fact of I've had people say that they hated me in the heat of the moment, and the old version of me would have taken that on and be like, well, what did I do? And play this, like dim my light or play small, to where it's like I would take on the fact of like, it's like a people pleading, like, well, what could I do? And no, I just realized it truly reflects themselves. It's okay for them to hate something, but in those heat of the moments, I've had things happen to where I realized like this is an internal conflict, if anything. Like I know hurt people, but this is an internal conflict. It's something stemming much deeper. I've talked about the mother wound, but something came up for me about even imagine having the photos of your mother and father. Imagine that, like not just the photos, but imagine having the baby pictures of them. That will make you expand your consciousness, or even expand your perspective on life even more when you have such a photo, because you'll be able to see the little girl and boy in them. And then you'll recognize and learn behavior patterns on why the fuck they treated you that way. Maybe they didn't get love. Maybe they too went through something. And see what it does, this would bring up something uncomfortable within us all. There's people that have said things to me, did things to me, and I tell myself, like, you know what, today I told myself, like, I have to have it's just as much commitment towards my healing journey, and vow to myself to hold space for my inner child. It's just as much as I did when I was dysfunctional or unstable in my emotions. You see the balance in that shit? It's like everything you went through, there is a counteract to that. There is something much more better. I wouldn't be here talking about it if there wasn't. And that's why I love this shit, because it's at a time when people didn't want to see me progress, I realized that reflected them. At the time they were holding on to shit, I asked myself, well, do I need to hold on to it? This is how I have progressed in life and move forward. The talking gets more quieter as you start to love on yourself. But that in itself is very vital. You notice how, like, bring up something to me, how grandma keep everybody baby pictures and all these other things. I've never seen a baby picture of my grandma. I've never even seen a baby picture of my mama. Because I feel like what people do, they've discarded or they've thrown away so much of every aspect of their childhood, because it probably just reminds them of so many things traumatic. And they don't realize that that's what's keeping them in this illusion of feeling like they're stuck. Or that's what's keeping them in this loop of repetitive trauma. That's why they're not able to love the way you do, to show up the way you do. Have this resentment or anger towards you because you're doing what they felt they could have done. And what they don't realize is that I'm only doing what the fuck my inner child is like. I've been talking in I was about to say performing, not that, but I've been just being me since I know, and that's the thing I've been returning to. That's what bothers people, is that you're able to be at a place of this peace and not realize, like, I'm choosing not to hold on to the bullshit no longer. I'm choosing to realize, like, I can move forward and not carry this into new environments, new relationships. Let me be able not to carry this. Let me realize how much this affected my life, my value system. Because again, value system shows that when you are stabilizing yourself and having more empathy, it'll show you and mirror back to what people value. They'll say one thing, but their actions will show you what they really value. And what you value, you'll build towards. And that's what I realized, like, and who I know I'm blossoming to, I know who I am. How do you know who you are? Well, you can't just push away the versions of you when you were a child. Your higher self is your inner child. Your future self, whatever you want to call it, is that essence, your inner child, however you want to title it. All the shit you did in childhood, how authentic you were, how expressive you were, that's who you're supposed to be in this lifetime throughout everything. Outside of the money and all this stuff that was implemented, that was keeping people distracted, keeping people, and it's more than just money. It's just how things were structured to keep people away from their inner child, to keep them away from authenticity, to keep them away from feeling emotionally safe. Because emotional safety enables and supports authenticity. Like a child. They ain't finna apologize. It's not until they're taught. It's not until they're taught certain things. They'll say, they'll do whatever they want to without harming people. Notice that. Now, some of them, again, when we're talking about like a toddler, when they're real small, they're still learning their mobile skills. They're still learning things. Now, think about other people. Think about other people that have not learned these things. Think about that. Now, think about unprocessed grief or prolonged grief, people who have had things to where, or whether you want to call it PTSD or complex PTSD, where they have had these things repetitively happen in their life. That's how I realized I was repeating trauma. Because I realized I was holding on, my brain wasn't processing, or certain things wasn't processed beyond the trauma itself. So I would loop through these things, like psychologically. That's where a lot of trust came in. Fight or flight, and then freeze. What do they call it? Like a fawn. Like, what is that? Yeah, the deer. So that's what can happen. And I'm telling you, I'm not perfect at all. I've seen this shit happen to other people. I've seen it happen to me, and then I didn't realize how much it affected other people until, like, I assumed that the way my tone was, or when I got angry, or when I went into fight or flight or survival mode, how much that shit affected people. And some learning lessons come through in your relationships. Not just that, but they come in where you have to go through the experience and realize that you have to give yourself grace. This is not excluding people's behavior. It's just, I'm challenging people. As you learn yourself deeper, you'll be able to see why people do what the fuck they do. Yeah. I also realized like how much this has kept me, not so much kept me, but in my learning these things, like the prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer, how much this has allowed me to really show up for myself more. And again, the internal conflict. This is the thing that has been ignored so much is the internal conflict. Most people are battling with stuff that has nothing to do with the other individual. That's why I realized, like, growing up, the nitpicking with my mom, or, you know, if you had a parent that would nitpick and point out every little thing, or, you know, all these different things to deflect or keep them actually distracted or keep the focus off of them. And the reason why these things are vital right now is allow us to be able to go beyond our one-dimensional thinking, or like, you know, go beyond what we're used to perceiving people as and perceiving ourselves. So, yeah. I also realized when I did it for someone I knew, something was telling me like how much this was also healing an internal wound and the relationship too. Cause just think about how much stuff we're taught to hold on to, and even the music influence it. Like you want to get revenge, or you want to do this, and you want to, you know, lash out as soon as you see that person. I mean, myself, I'm at a place where like, for what? I get more, I'm just saying my value system is this. I get more peace with just being able to rest at night. I tell y'all, like through the cord cutting or the dissolving of the cords years ago with my mom, it has played out tremendously to where I don't care to respond to anything involving anything that reminds me of that stuff, because that's how much I've actually forgiven myself, forgiven her, accepted, have a greater love for myself and her. But it ain't just her, it's the little girl that she hasn't forgiven, that she hasn't apologized to, that she doesn't know how to hold space for, that she hasn't told that she loves in so long. So what is happening, or what is actually unfolding, is that this is how we'll be able, who we have had children by or married to our spouse and partners to as well, is the fact of you're able to hold more compassion and love for this person. Because again, me personally, I can tell from what I've experienced the fact of how much I wasn't safe for myself. And you know, one of my previous videos, I was talking about how the reason I discuss these things is because I'm called to. I have a Chiron in Cancer, so this highlights family. This highlights a sense of belonging. And I'm telling you about this prayer is because a lot of this, when it brings you back home to yourself as you do these things, it brings you back home to feel a sense of belonging again, belonging in your body, belonging in developing your identity from an authentic place, not from self-validation, not anyone else's validation. Because whenever you have these things suppressed for so long, the memories that are unresolved, and some of us want to address our mothers, talk to them. Some of you went through things and your mother and father could have transitioned, or you just have an absent parent. They choose to be. They've made other children, you know, so many different things. This is for all of y'all. This is for anybody and everybody. holding that picture up or looking at that picture and saying these things again, it brings a deeper aspect of you realizing that the little girl and boy inside of you needs you more. And it's always been that way. Because in the abandonment when you were young, how you were abandoned, it always showing you to come back home to you and to establish that within yourself. Self-sufficiency, self-love, self-care radically, not for someone else. If anything, life should have taught you is that you got to be with you the rest of your life. It's other people's choice to be with you. And see, we've had this expectancy for so long because it's been coming from a deep insecurity or abandonment wound. The world, when I look at the matriarchal, when I look at the origins, especially of indigenous women, or even not all, but when I look at the distorted mother has an abandonment wound. She has an emotional abandonment wound. This is a mother who lacks empathy for herself and her children. She doesn't care for the safety of herself or emotional safety, so she won't care about it with you. And what that does, it enables the father to have the same perspective. And this is why you see through partnership or relationship, it's mirrored back that the woman's not able to show up as she wants to emotionally, because a lot of why women don't feel emotionally safe, we want to make it seem like it's just a man, but they're not providing or has had the opportunity to be emotionally safe, authentic with themselves, having a trusting relationship with themselves, having, actually, let me pull this up too. Not just only that, because let me type this in. Also, emotional safety. Come on now. So yeah, again, when we talk about relationships that reflect this emotional safety, it's more than just love and compassion. No criticism, a gentle tone, connection, eye contact, openness, honesty, vulnerability, active listening, no judgment. I can sit here and tell you from judging from all of that, I don't have all those things. I've had to learn this. I've had to relearn this. I've had to, emotional safety, or I learned through my Chiron and Cancer, is that I've had to rebuild a lot of these things because, for one, it was something that came up in my mind about that Chiron and Aries. Before I get there, though, one of the key factors, again, is empathy and respect, honoring boundaries, privacy, and individuality. For one, when you see what has been displayed, and this is the thing where coming back home to yourself and has empathy will, people values change. When you talk about honoring boundaries and privacy, this has been the biggest thing for me is privacy, because I realized that in the deep insecurities of women who never had emotionally safe or not emotionally safe, they will overextend, overexpress, or be so vulnerable in such an unhealthy way to where they will let everything out. And this is not their fault, because this is naturally how they are. And I don't mean from an unhealthy place. This is naturally how they're, one thing about I learned just observing, all women, like not I don't know all of them, but from my experience, they love love. And it's just the fact that they don't know what a healthy love is for themselves. And if they're looking, if they, when you talk about building something on emotional safety, non-judgmental acceptance having a lot to do with validating your feelings. Oh my gosh. If you didn't have an emotionally safe individual or a mother who mirror this back to you, because women feel, they feel first. So when you didn't have this, your mother never validated your feelings, you're going to naturally look for people to validate that. Feeling seen, and it's not just external, it's feeling seen and here. And if you don't know how to feel seen and here, you won't know how to, you'll look for it out there. And this is where the open communication, we're talking about when it comes to whether you're subscribed to gender or not, but when it comes to the feminine and masculine archetypes, from women having been silenced and judged so long for their appearance, not just their appearance, but how they authentically want to show up. What happens is this creates an internal conflict because they don't feel that they are valued with how they show up. So this creates distrust or within themselves or and so forth. So now what ends up happening is that they start to blame and feel invalidated. And this is where their emotions can come out and it feels like an attack, or they feel emotionally attacked. So this is where, let me see, actually it talks about that on here. Where you don't have emotional safety is the fear of vulnerability, hiding your true feelings or thoughts about someone. You remember when we were children? It's like, just playing around and kids just say anything, but it just shows the innocence. Walking on eggshells. I mean, constant tension, anxiety about triggering a partner's anger or judgment. That's deep. I didn't realize I was putting people through this until I realized, again, I never at that time felt emotionally safe. And then here you are, they're saying you're doing this at the same time. I'm not trying to say or do anything to make them angry. But that stems from the fact of growing up in environments like that. Growing up in environments where you didn't want to make your mother mad or someone and they get angry and they get combative and so forth, and abuse, verbal abuse and so forth. That shit stems from that. For those who don't know. And a lot of people get caught in the crossfire because just imagine if you were, I'm going to just say, use the term good guy or good girl, but it's more than just good. Some of these things, we get caught in the crossfire of not realizing because we didn't know how to be aware of choosing ourselves and choosing a partner that mirrors these things back healthily, that we get into these things where they call it karmic, or get into these things where we didn't want to go through it, but we had to, only to prepare us not to ever go through it again. Clear? Oh, this is a big one. This really bothered me. But you know what? Again, this stems from childhood. I can acknowledge this. It's the acknowledgement of knowing why certain relationships not just failed, but it was more so of not having something healthy for yourself. One of the things about signs of lack of emotional safety is dismissal of feelings, having emotions ignored or labeled as too much. Damn, I've even said this. Gosh. You know what I realized is it really just highlighted the fact of my emotions never feeling validated as a little boy. And this is why you have so many men who hide their emotions, who are really eventually they're really in their hiding. What it really stems from is that they've been used of their emotions being dismissed as a child or never validated. So yeah, they've had emotions ignored. They either have it dismissed in a way of ignored by an individual, or labeled it's too much. And you see that play out again, mirror back in both men and women now. he's sassy, or he's too sensitive, and he's too much. And in reality, that really shows herself, because I'm not too much. I realize that, like, am I now gaining a deeper empathy and awareness of myself? It's nothing about me that's too much. I'm just enough for me and whoever aligns with that. Because that really just highlights now that this person have had their emotions not either validated or ignored. So yeah, and really what I realized is triggering that in themselves. I went through it. Now, how to create a safe emotional relationship? It says practice active listening. That's challenging. It's been challenging for me. I'm learning to do that with myself too, to validate another person's experience. Oh my gosh, I went through that shit. And it's like, imagine that, like how a lot of us never had our mothers and fathers or people, like since a childhood, validate our personal experience, whether it was traumatic. And or imagine someone who caused harm and they're invalidating the experience, really only is a way of like dismissing it or ignoring the fact of how you felt around it. Validating feelings, acknowledge emotions, even if you disagree with the perspective. Damn. Encourage your vulnerability. Create a safe space for sharing fears and insecurities without fixing them immediately. Respect boundaries. Honor requests for space or limitations without guilt tripping. Dang, bro. A lot of this stuff, I'm telling you, I be coming into it, researching it, and I realized like a lot of these things. Imagine growing up in a home where busting in the room, never honoring your space. And this is why I realized like a lot of things where I have goals on having certain things so that people don't intrude. So like I'm talking about private. I ain't gonna name shit, but I already have it, but I'm just saying the privacy in people not having access to you. And it's important because a lot of this restores the coming back home to yourself. Like a lot of it restores your soul, it restores your essence. And that's gonna be very important for a lot of us, because in this process it's like, you know, it's teaching people how to treat you, but that also reflects on how you treat yourself. Taking accountability, apologizing sincerely for mistakes, and engage in repair after conflicts. And now that's big, because you know how you can try to force someone to apologize, let's say from childhood or experiences or what they've done. The last part of that is where the big one for me, engaging in repair after conflicts. Now, this is why I go no contact or don't deal with people, because I'm not making no excuses for people who don't want to try and attempt to support or repair what I know I did not break. And in that, you know, they're not exempt from the consequences of that. Now it talks about the impact on mental health. When emotional safety is present, the nervous system remains calm, allowing for better emotional regulation, higher cognitive function, and stronger and more resilient relationships. Conversely, a lack of safety causes chronic stress, anxiety, and emotional and sometimes physical and disconnection. Damn, boy. Emotional safety is a basic, like base, the foundation, human needs, an essential building block for all healthy human relationships. This is why I talk about this shit. It's because if we want to progress and move forward as people, as individuals, as a human race, with yourself and anything else, This is the foundation. Emotional safety is a basic human need, an essential building block for all healthy human relationships. Emotional safety, like everyone wants to feel, is feeling of being accepted, embraced, and who you truly are, and what you feel and need. God, hey, and that's why the reason like I said, it's a process. I'm not saying I ain't been perfect through nothing, because a lot of this shit I'm reading, really, it shows me where I haven't shown up for myself and how I could be better in my approach and what has affected me and what I don't know. I don't know everything. I'm looking at this like, have I really been in any type of emotional safe relationship with myself or other people? It'll make you question it, not doubt, but question the part of why certain things happen the way they do. And the reason why this is so vital, it'll show you why certain relationships didn't stand the test of time, and not just time, but why certain connections, even when it comes to who you can have children by, marriages, and so forth. Because the base of that individual most likely isn't safe. Like their emotional aspect, the things that I mentioned, like that's important. And so this is to bring awareness to moving forward on how you can reinvent or reconstruct your life around aligning with things as such. And then the humanity in this, and overall, like, I mean, just even as a darker man, from what I grew up in and then the country, when you talking about feeling like you're walking on fucking eggshells, because that has a lot to do with trust. You know, the trusting of the individuals, the people who have created these things, and for people not to be at odds with each other, and most importantly, be at odds with themselves. And there has been no consistency when it comes to allowing people or creating things for them to feel safe and secure, or even feel like they are respected or have empathy for them. Transparency, openness, because it's attacked. And that's the things that, that's the thing that I'm gonna pause on. I'm gonna come back to this. I got to shift. So yeah. What was I talking about? Yeah. So going to just the fact of realizing, as an individual, as a man, on different levels of these things, when you're talking about the signs of lack of emotional safety, the fear of vulnerability for one. When you look at what has been projected onto men, them hiding their true feelings around how they feel naturally about a situation, about an individual, and so forth, without being attacked. You know, when you talk about freedom of speech and all these other shit, all these rules and all these things in place, without getting this subconscious fear around negative reactions from people. And see, that keeps people from being authentic. That keeps people from really stepping into their power and being secure. Because that's naturally going to happen. People are going to have their opinion and so forth. So that's one thing I had to restabilize. It's like during the moments where I had to learn how to set boundaries, I had to say how I felt. When you think about the feminine and masculine attributes or energies, this is what has been repressed or suppressed that is coming up. And so that's one of the biggest things I realized as a man. It's like those things repressed within me from that feminine archetype comes up. And that's really highlighting again the fear of vulnerability. This is why I continue to do what I do. Like, is to get past fears. That's the only way. You have to face it head on. You can't be afraid of the fact of how people are just going to assume what they're going to assume or whatever it is. That's fine. It's either triggering, it's only going to lead them to a better place within themselves, or it's just going to highlight their insecurities. However, walking on eggshells, I said before, the constant tension and anxiety and about triggering a partner's anger or judgment. Now, that's one of the things. Just as a darker man, when you think about the climate of policing, when you think about the climate of just being who you are, a lot of people fear, I've noticed, like how they can be very aggressive towards someone else, but then let's say someone else comes around of a lighter shade, depending on their status or whatever. And where was I getting at with this? Basically, like their anxiety around angering that said individual and so forth, just because of maybe their status or just because of maybe their career or positioning. That right there says a lot about, again, reflecting the security within themselves. It's like, can you still be yourself? Because you can't control that person's judgment about you, their anger and so forth. So that walking on eggshells is a whole different perspective, you know, speaking for indigenous men or darker men that have went through things in this country, dating a woman that is lighter, you know, having children by her. Again, the eggshell aspect of having to be around her family at that time. I had to be so secure within myself. I had to be confident. I didn't give a fuck if they liked people that were darker or not. That had nothing to do with me. Because however they gained that concept, self-concept or belief system stems from whatever they went through or whoever plant that seed in their fucking subconscious or in their mind and body. That does not prevent me for, again, if you know me, because especially from living in the South or going through living in the world through these experiences, that's not going to make me dim my fucking light. I could care less. I have, through gaining my more of a stability within myself, yes, I've had to be very transparent and open, very, you can say aggressively and angrily, because I couldn't repress this shit. I couldn't, and I'm not gonna pretend, and I'm not gonna fuck with people like that. And I've had to say that to the mother of my children too. I'm not gonna deal with and fuck with people like that, because guess what? You know, birds of a feather flock together. You start being around these people like this, they will convince you that that's a way of life. It's not, because they always going to backfire on people like that. And that's why people are at war with themselves, this internal conflict and so forth. And this is why people are at war now with themselves and everything else, is because of their own internal conflict. So moving forward, and then it really highlights their emotional safety, like their foundation. And this is why they're not able to get along or have healthy human interaction. Lack of emotional safety, defensiveness, and distrust. This is stuff I've already covered when it comes to the fact of blaming other people, patterns of blame or invalidation or emotional attack. When people, I've noticed, like, as you become more open and honest about, they'll deflect, they'll get defensive. And again, it really highlights their distrust and their own internal conflict. So they're quick to blame or feel, in their inability to validate themselves, they'll feel invalidation and so forth. So I feel like I covered that correctly. So I already read on dismissal of feelings. This is big because it doesn't just stem from childhood. It also extends on like a branch into the world. When you're talking about distrust amongst human beings and the climate, especially of self-hatred, y'all call racism, has a lot to do with, again, this is a big one. When you are ignoring the emotions of people's experience of what they've been through and so forth, you're not going to progress. This is again, basically another way of saying being passive aggressive. This is how you're not going to build solid relationships or connections with other people. It doesn't matter your status and creed, doesn't matter how much money you have. A lot of y'all are in shit to where, again, this is why a lot of this sports and a lot of this stuff that's being built is collapsing, because a lot of it's fear-based. A lot of it's around deception and control, because if you're telling me you're seeing shit happen in this country and you're not able to be transparent and open about what has happened to people that look like you and so forth, you fake. Not only you're fake, you're being fake and dishonest with yourself. So not only are you keeping a cycle of trauma going, but you're looping through it because you're thinking you're building a safety net for yourself by pretending or masking, but you're really not you're really not emotionally safe within yourself. You don't feel secure enough to actually feel like, okay, am I saying this? Am I going to care who likes me or accept me? This is why some people, again, they don't, it shows, again, if people really respected you and your organizations or what you're a part of, then they too reflect. They will too enable or support you. There will be mutual trust, empathy and respect, openness, non-judgmental acceptance, consistently in that. I don't care what you're a part of right now. It ain't that. It ain't that. And y'all know it ain't that. And this is why it's collapsing, because it ain't that. Y'all don't realize a lot of this shit that was imbalanced. A part of these things, emotional safety is a feminine archetype because it's emotions, it's security. So all of these things are collapsing, reflect that. And the behavior that is at display right now shows within us all, we've been there, the lack of emotional safety. So again, when you're having situations where people, you see it play out, because even if you're a part of some type of organization, that man or a woman that is wherever hierarchy or whatever position that they're in, they still reflect a mother and father energy. So you not knowing your worth think it's acceptable to be treated like that just because what, you this high class athlete or you're an actor or you're this and that. They don't fucking respect you. It's the foundation, it's the energy. Outside of just the skin, it's not something that's built upon that. So it shows y'all what you value. It shows you your value system. Now, if you want things to change and progress, how to create emotionally safety in a relationship, because a relationship ain't just with people in business, it's with yourself. So this is where the value changes. In your situation, your corporation or business and career that you're a part of, do they listen to understand and overstand, not to react, but do they validate your experience? Most of y'all, especially darker men, y'all are part of these organizations and shit. And I know I hear a whole bunch of shit from this. I don't care. This is why I couldn't be a part of it. I realized that they don't validate your experience. A lot of y'all don't went through stuff. A lot of stuff is gonna come out about how people have been treated in these organizations. Y'all make up most of it. Y'all can easily use what you have, go to different countries, do whatever you need to do to shift the power. It starts with you, your frequency, your worth, your value. It starts with you. What's the fear? They're gonna take everybody out. Having whomever tried to do that before, there's already a shift in power. It's a wrap. Moving forward, validating your feelings, acknowledging emotions, even if you disagree with the perspective. We already know Shut up, go play. Shut up, your contract could be void. It's a whole bunch of shit I can go into deep details with. It really, I'm being real, y'all weak, bro. Y'all some bitches, bro. Weak ass shit. And I say that in a very empowering way to where, like, be fucking real with yourself. It is weak. And I use the term bitch in a way of like, it's you letting motherfuckers play you out your position. And I'm using that as people who grow up. That's some bitch ass shit. Like, y'all really afraid to be fucking vulnerable and open and be honest about yourself and align with people who honor that. Again, your inner child. You letting these people play on your inner child, prey on you to build what? To build up what? That shit collapsing. Now what you gonna do? Encouraging vulnerability, as I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to encourage your vulnerability. Create a safe space. And that's kind of like what I know I'm naturally doing, but that starts with you. Creating a safe space with you first. Being vulnerable with you, being honest with you first. Creating a safe space to share your fears and insecurities without fixing them immediately. Your fears of you being injured, you not having a contract, or something this, and your insecurities, or whatever it is. Come on, as a man, as men, where? I share these things because I know y'all, especially a lot of y'all, in careers and certain things, and whomever you are, don't matter your size or whatever. No, a lot of y'all don't have no safe place, bro. Because a lot of the mindset, if you didn't have an emotionally safe mother, a lot of y'all guard your assets, or you guard your money, or you guard a lot of things. You don't guard it from a healthy place or a secure place. Because you can't, U-Haul behind the hearse. And a lot of shit really ain't protected as you think it is, especially if you built shit from a foundation of, if you don't feel emotionally safe, that says a lot about why a lot of people develop this wounded ego or wounded masculinity around this identity, how they go out into the world, how they present themselves as if they're better because of what they have. Moving forward, respecting boundaries, honoring requests for space and limitation. They don't ever, the reason why I speak about athletes or even people in that space, people of certain status, is because y'all know fucking where I'm calling it out for what it is. For one, y'all monitor so much. So to even request space or limitation, y'all don't even have privacy. Because for one, it talks about key components in emotional safety. Is that honoring boundaries and privacy and individuality. And this is like, you ever see a boy come up that play basketball, they immediately put someone else's name, like, oh, he reminds him of, or he's the 2.0 of the, man, let that man have his name, her or him. He's a whole individual. I love trying to get praise and want to idolize somebody. The fuck? Don't compare me to nobody. So again, honoring requests of space. This is lack, or limitations without guilt tripping. Just imagine people going away from the world. If you are, some of y'all don't have the courage to go away. Y'all, that's my thing. I tell myself this. Now, I love to play sports. I love my art and stuff like that. But man, how much money, how much things do you fucking need not to even, I don't know, maybe that's what it is. The emotional safety, which is the fears around not having. Because if emotional safety, the fears around not having something, I can see why a lot of them are in that position. And this is why they fear going away, because of fear of not not just a status or lifestyle, but probably money, a lot of things, that vulnerability around that, the fears that they never talk about to no one else. And they'll definitely like be guilt tripped through that. If they like, I don't see like how much y'all need and not to go away. It made me think like, do people really even have? That's none of my business. I ain't talking about counting nobody's pot. It made me think like, what kind of contract or what kind of shit y'all really in? What kind of shit y'all really in? And that's why I realized like divine protection. Like I realized a lot of folk was, do y'all realize like how a lot of us was not supposed to be a part of that shit? We wanted to, but we weren't supposed to be a part of that, bro. Because of the higher calling to expose so many things which is hidden. Because I think about the fact that like, bro, how are y'all not able to go away? How are you able to make, not even just make, it's just me, that's just me. That's why I can see how the elders say another man's prosperity can be another man's curse. To live with that, like amount of money, and again, if you're not emotionally secure or stable within yourself, the anxiety, the fears, there's so many things that can come up around that. Especially if you don't have like secure emotionally, like from a feminine place of like the flow, and then to the masculine aspect, like, whoa, I'm really starting to get clarity to realize like a lot of people are in something that they really don't want to be, but they needed to go through. I'm starting to look at y'all a little different. Like, what are you really a part of, bro? It gotta be, oh, God, dang. This shit. Because for real, because it makes sense where if you're not able to be in a space that's non-judgmental and really accepts you, that says a lot about the shit that y'all are a part of. I don't care what status, what nationality, religion, it says a lot about how really safe you are and what you value. They don't value you because you don't value you. And this is why I realize like the value system is shifting for humanity, is because this right here is spiritual currency, the emotional currency, where our energy goes and flows. You don't trust the organizations you're in. You don't trust yourself. There's no consistency in trust with it. So a lot of you feel like you're walking on eggshells. If you say something, do something, and so forth, because your job or your position is on the line. This is on all levels. This is in family dynamics and everything. And all of it's doing is exposing what's hidden. This is exactly the clarity I needed to get, because this shows me as you're clearing what's hidden with the lack of emotional safety, it exposes, or as you come into the emotional safety and regulating yourself, I've been noticing how it exposed on all levels the lack of emotional safety people have. And this is why they're not able to build with all people, beyond color, beyond nationality, and so forth. This right here is because a lot of people, again, I've learned that when I read through all this, is that how many spaces can you be in that is non-judgmental acceptance, that they can validate your feelings even through conflict, ensuring that relationship remains a safe space. Man, this exposes every fucking thing in the world right now. Everything. This shit, right? What, full moon in Leo right now? Man, this shit exposes so much. So this is where I realized, like, I came across a verse, was it Jeremiah 9? It was talking about how to gather up or something, because when you realize that you have been in a world that is so deceptive, how people will lie with their tongues amongst each other, This is what has been happening for so long up to this very moment. That's the collapse at everything. People, even with their mouths, even with their intentions and so forth, no one can tell me otherwise, because until you get to this place, that's what people enlighten or come aware or in tune start to realize. Like, it's even a child that has grown up in environments where they have unconsciously learned these behavior patterns that they don't even know affects them. So they develop a system of self-sabotaging or being dishonest, distrust. If they haven't grown up in anything that was emotionally safe, you cannot tell me that a lot of these things, you will naturally become defensive. You will naturally build distrusting relationship with yourself and other people. You will naturally feel like you'll walk on eggshells. You will naturally fear being vulnerable, being honest about how you feel. You will naturally develop, and I'm telling you, it's people that come to my mind in of certain, like in certain status and careers and so forth. You will naturally do that. You don't even, and then, you know what's so dangerous about it? At the same time, it's dangerous but beautiful. Is that the danger in it is that they don't realize what they're doing unconsciously. The beauty in it is when they come to the self-realization. And this is where we start to, oh my gosh, yo, on all levels. There's so many people I realize, like, when have you had someone to really encourage to create a space of vulnerability? You have it, especially for our mothers. If they never, when you look at the climate of America and people who are faking, y'all gonna realize these transits are exposing this shit. Neptune and Aries. Saturn's coming in a few days. Bro, until we learn to create emotional safety in our relationship with ourselves and other people, it will be war. And the war is with ourselves and other people. It just brings me to that song of Bob Marley, War, like how he speaks about he quoted what is it, Haile Selassie, like the verse, or no, his it was something he was saying, like, until a man is not judged by the color of his skin and the color of his eyes, you know, different things and stuff like that, there will be war. There will be war. And that's why people, their God and what they give their energy to is not the same of source. It's not the same of what's alignment. And this is why a lot of these things are prophesized or coming to fruition, because we're being prepared. We're being prepared and being packing light. We're being prepared to shift and relocate and shift to safe environments. People will come out from the mountains and be brought to the city for a reason. A lot of things, the judgment that's happening, a lot of the lands, everything that was abused is now being restored with balance. So that which the abuse of land, the control of land, all this shit will be restored. The abuse of power in all aspects and so forth, that will be restored. You will see a lot more people as the transits happen. Right now, Uranus is in Taurus, and it just literally went direct. And I'm talking about the values of, again, emotional safety highlights the divine mother rising, because when you look at the matriarchal aspect of that, everything beginning with the matriarchal, then you're talking about everything beginning with the emotional resonance. It is going to highlight the emotional safety around not only ourselves, but our mothers, who, again, if they're not safe and secure, or they don't feel this within themselves first, then they're not able to show up and be able to reciprocate that with not only their children, but with their spouse. Because I'm gonna go ahead and debunk this bullshit around the fact of somebody was talking about the importance of, like, the mother feeling safe, and if she's not safe, no one can. That is very much true, but that's also the importance of everyone, the oneness in everyone, because it's important for both parties, partners, children, to know the importance of having an emotional safe environment. Because again, just judging and coming to the awareness around the foundation of emotional security and safety. Let's talk about safety. If you live in present day society in this country or anywhere else, when you look at the matriarchal and what the distorted mother has represented, this is not, she represents all the things that she lacks, the fear of vulnerability. She hides her true feelings, of fear of avoiding negative reactions. You see, the thing about avoiding negative reactions is to realize, like, you don't need to be validated by anyone's reaction. It doesn't matter what they feel and what they say towards you. It's the fact of, again, this goes back to being authentic and honest, is to where being able to validate your emotions and then be able to create a space around non-judgmental acceptance. So you don't fear being vulnerable. You actually be honest. You be open with yourself first. There hasn't been spaces like that. For one, religion plays a major part in that. Control, deception, manipulation around silencing women. I've seen it grow up from my experience. I've seen it happen in churches and so forth, where at a time, women weren't even able to talk or speak up. It was always the man trying to forcefully allow his fucking big ass ego to be praised. Like, ugh, y'all motherfuckers disgusting. I'm so glad this shit collapsing. Like, what sense does it make? You only want to rise in your ego, don't care about nothing if anybody else is, how anyone else feels. You just want to say your message. What kind of bullshit? How long y'all thought that was going to go on? Man, peace. This is exactly why you're seeing a lot of them literally exposing what's hidden inside of them. It's like a little boy who's seeking attention. Seeking attention. That's all it is. A lot of these careers, a lot of these people, a lot of their status that they have, it's like the Most High, the source is looking at them like little ass kids. It's like little kids. I told you, I choose some of these people and spit them the fuck out. Easily. Because you can sense where they're coming from. It's all ego and it's wounded masculinity. You don't even want to see women raised up. You don't even want to see them walk into their power. You don't even want to encourage them to be, let's see here. If you were so safe emotionally, you would build upon actually validating their feelings outside of bringing a religious figure in. You will actually, even during conflict, ensure that relationship remains safe and secure. Now, some of these motherfuckers fucking on the women in there. Like weirdos and shit. Can't even have a healthy relationship because your lust overriding your fucking body and shit. Man, please. And then with that, you have so many women that are like, it's a collapse in the church and all this other shit. That's especially like where it happens first. Y'all gotta realize the root of a lot of this stuff is gonna happen wherever women haven't felt emotionally safe, that's where the collapse is gonna happen first. They're not gonna like hold back their feelings and no more. I wouldn't ever encourage them to hold back their feelings and how they feel. Your feelings are valid. Like that's the thing about the femininity within them being silenced. And it's not gonna happen no more. And now with transparency and openness, clear intentions and open communication. Where do y'all hold the space for that? You so-called leaders, you so-called people in the community who want to control people so much, man, your reign of terror is over. Where do you have a creative and safe space for this? Where do you have empathy and respect and honoring the boundaries and privacies and the individuality, it says, of emotional safety for these mothers? and their children. No, y'all motherfuckers prey on these single mothers and their children. Weirdos. Y'all prey on them, want to get all the money you can from them, want to get all that, siphon their energy. Fucking weirdos. So again, they prey on this very thing right there. They prey on your vulnerability. They actually want you to walk on eggshells, and judge you and so forth. They actually like when you don't have a trusting relationship with men. Think about that. Or with yourself. They actually want that. They would rather, let me tell you, I'm going to break a whole cycle right. Let me tell you how this shit was designed. They would rather you have a distrustful relationship, not only with yourself and men, just so you can have a so-called healthy relationship with your religious figures. Just saying, as the divine feminine rises, y'all going to realize a lot of them have stolen, manipulated what the actual feminine archetype represents. Y'all don't remove everything about the woman and then try to replace it with your goofy ass. That shit's weird. Fucking weirdos, bro. Just to validate y'all experience. You'll tell the woman and tell all them they too much. And in reality, you're basically saying that you just continue to dismiss their emotions and how they feel. We all going through something like this. We all going through something. I had to learn this. I had to realize, like, in learning to be emotionally safe for myself, that also calls for you, because not knowing is one thing. Wisdom comes, my perspective comes through the woman, because if anybody, like, knowing something, this is where a lot of men have gotten to this self-righteous aspect. They feel like they know this and know this and know this, but you don't apply it. You don't apply it with women. Because if you did, why are their experiences just as invalid as yours? Their experience is just as valid as well. And that's why, again, when you don't have emotional safety, being that a lot of things were stripped young from a lot of women, then this is where you have had resentment and a lot of rage within our mothers and women who, when they don't have empathy, they lose all empathy for themselves and respect. So therefore, they don't know how it is to create healthy boundaries. They don't value privacy and individuality. This is why they want to look the same unconsciously, or sometimes they try to mask it and say they want to do. No, this is why they don't honor individuality. They don't honor privacy. And that's why, they show so much. They don't call it private parts for no reason, but it's not about judgment. It's to realize, like, I know a lot of y'all. And I'm telling you from experience, from myself and the women that I've connected with and been with. Once I started to realize how, again, the importance of emotional safety and to create it, or to learn the lack of thereof, I realized, like, what I've been noticing, what I've been experiencing. And men aren't going to come along, especially a lot of them that are wounded. They refuse to see past. When they don't heal or do the inner work, they're not going to have empathy or respect for you. Because if they do, guess what ends up happening? What ends up happening is that when you do have these things stabilized and you begin to restabilize them again, I'm going to let your ass know, for me, you're going to honor my boundaries, or you don't got to be in my life. I've been naturally doing this, like privacy. And I had to go through this with experiences, with people personally. Privacy. I don't want to let you know where I live at. Look on social media, look at everything. A lot of, even the country, the energy of the foundations of everything, the distorted mother or the distorted feminine energy through the playing out of the wounded masculinity, it exposes, or no, it projects the lack of privacy. Why do you think everybody, they don't know how to be the trendings? They don't know how to be their individual self. They don't know how to have boundaries. And people don't respect them. That shows you they don't have empathy or respect themselves. So they'll overstep that shit. And guess what? That's why when people will want to attack people because or don't realize the importance of like this shit's spiritual too. It's like as you step into yourself, emotional safety is naturally it's spiritual. Because it's from within, it's the feminine archetype. So when we're talking about, how divinely guided my steps are and how protected I have to be through this, it's because there are forces or people like that do not want this shit to have an effect, but they can't stop it, of course, because it's written. It's the fact of like, this is what's so dangerous to them, but to those who don't want to see a shift happen. But this is what's so beautiful that's coming down the pipeline is because now, why would I be mad because you want to set healthy boundaries? Why would I be mad because you want privacy? Why would I, in being triggered by that says a lot about me. That's the beauty of what the feminine and masculine is reflecting is actually mirroring the parts of us that are blocked, that's hidden, that's been suppressed, that's been repressed, that's been controlled and manipulated. It's exposing that energy to bring and restore balance. The fuck? So we can learn to be open and transparent. That's been for me. I would overextend, but now it's like an intention, clear intention. This is what I want. I didn't know how to do certain things like that. I had to have the experience where I told myself I wasn't even ready for my children. But in that, it's kind of like what I signed up for. There wasn't clear intentions. There was intentions, but there wasn't clear intentions on, when you meet someone, this is where we want to go. No, you just going into things again. And then later on, you start to learn the lessons into, oh, this is why this is happening. If you're willing to have more empathy for yourself, learn more about yourself. And then for people who don't know, like let's say you meet someone who don't know the importance of individuality or the importance of privacy. That was a big thing. Think about people who want to just post their fucking relationships online and so forth. Bro, y'all don't realize, like, if people really, really felt safe within themselves, it's just certain things they would not do to protect themselves spiritually, mentally, and so forth, instead of, getting defensive, as it says, and wanting the social media to validate how they feel, and now you want to create a safe space, and and again, it has its purpose, but you can clearly see from where, like, what's also being exposed during these transits is the intentions. People's intentions are going to be so clear. So clear. And that's the thing about what these energies, like, expose what is hidden. So, and again, what's going to happen is this. In our inability for some of us, it's the climate of realizing, like, the world has lacked emotional safety, and this is how we're going to progress or move forward, is we have to learn how to create emotional safety relationships for ourselves and relationships with ourselves and other people. And that starts with, for one, practice active listening, validating feelings, even if you don't agree with this person and so forth. Encouraging people to be vulnerable. That means creating a safe space. That's deep. Because then you have to listen to people's fears around the fact of, if you're not grew up in the same environment, if you're not the same nationality, creed, and people share their fears around why the fuck they don't fuck with you. This anger and resentment people have towards people is valid. They have fears. I wanted to ignore certain things around that. Until I got with certain people, got in relationships, it's like I didn't realize I had fears around and insecurities around, like, how the fuck we gonna be in this relationship, or how this gonna happen? Because, fears ain't just about what someone looks like. It's deep rooted insecurities and fears around, like, finances, your emotions. It could be a lot of things. And then respecting boundaries, honoring to request space and limitation without guilt. That's a big one for me, because I'm realizing as a lot of things has transpired, this is what I've been naturally doing. Like, if I told you, like, respectfully, like, I need my space, and then this is where the no contact comes in, because a lot of people will want to guilt trip you after that, make you feel guilty for not showing up for them. Like, that's crazy. And that's where, again, if you don't honor that, that is a form of disrespect. You don't respect my boundaries. And then taking accountability is one of the biggest ones, is because a lot of people, don't feel that they should apologize. But this goes back to the whole Ho'oponopono thing. This is where the empathy comes in. Because in that teaching, it shows you, like, how to, or in that prayer, it shows you, like, it'll allow you to have empathy when you do apologize to yourself, to the versions of yourself and so forth. Because now you're able to engage in repair for yourself, meaning healing those parts of yourself. That is whatever duration you choose to go through. Now, whether it's with other people, this is what we have to allow ourselves to. And that's why I see a lot of people being able to go away and do certain things, because we have to give ourselves permission to repair, restore, replace even that which we assume that was lost over time. We have to give ourselves that duration. And this is how I see why, again, it highlights the fact of a lot of people have so many masks on how they really feel secure in life. But when I look at the foundations of emotional security or safety, whatever, same thing or similar, is that the people who have pretended to feel like they're stable, and when I look at the climate, it's all a lie. It's all bullshit. And it really shows in how they move forward and how they move and how they navigate life. Because it'll bring up their fears and insecurities around so much that they don't talk about. And so, yeah. So I don't see how people get stuff and not be able to move away. And because everyone's going through something, you can't say, like, you haven't been a part of this in the last 100 years or these generations, especially from boomers and now millenniums. Like, bro, I don't care. Like, you can't sit here and tell me you don't know what the fuck been going on. That's what, like, come on, man. Like, you ain't went through nothing. You ain't experienced something. It even talks about emotional safety in the workplace. How the shit can impact your mental health. Emotional safety in the workplace. Let me say this, because a lot of you are so fugazi, bro. In a professional setting, emotional safety means an environment where employees feel safe to take risks. You boy, I see why I was called. Y'all so fucking fake, bro. And it's so funny, because my experiences with this is why the fuck I couldn't even stay on jobs or stay on certain things, because it wasn't even about, was it structured? It was just a fact of, like, just the vibe. It was a lot. I'm going to read that again. Emotional safety in the workplace. In a professional setting, this is for y'all in corporate America, sports, all across the board, that have dealt with shit, knowing that you never felt safe. Because first, it happens on a spiritual and emotional level. So for you to try to hide it physically says a lot. In a professional setting, emotional safety means an environment where employees feel safe to take risks, voice opinions, ask for help, and admit mistakes without fear of punishment. This requires supportive leadership, clear communication, and a culture that values respect, constructive feedback. Well. There's your collapse in your sports and in all on all levels. There go your collapse in the value system. Cause don't none of it value that. Don't none of it value that. What? Voice opinions, ask for help, and admit mistakes without fear of punishment? Man, please. That starts even from childhood. Some of them people, what? You say something, you dealing with people, again, when you look at the environment of coaches and all this other stuff on all levels, for one, you got people in place, again, they're coming from a place of emotional unfulfillment or abandonment wounds, in career spaces where they don't really feel they already are dealing with bosses or other people behind the scenes where they, again, everything I highlighted when it comes to emotional safety, they don't reflect that. And it shows in the kids. So this is why if they admit to a mistake without fear of punishment, oh my gosh, even from little kids to the higher levels of shit, or not even just higher levels, just the leagues and shit. You speak up, you do something overseas too. You do something, man, you punish for it. You what? Contract void. Kick them out. There's so much shit that goes on behind the scenes. This ain't authentic and integrative leadership is what I'm talking about. There ain't clear communication when you see people try to speak up about certain lives matters or indigenous people and something like that, these people are attacked. They're attacked by not just social media, but they're attacked by systematic racism or systemic racism, whatever you call it, which shows the importance of the lack of what? Let's go up. Empathy and respect. That means they don't honor the boundaries of these players. They don't respect their privacy or individuality. They don't respect your individuality. And again, when you're trying to be transparent and open, these spaces are very judgmental. And then imagine speaking up and then now you having to go in the locker room or somewhere else. Now you're walking on eggshell because now you want to tell the truth or be open about your feelings. Then now people don't want to validate your feelings. So you got to realize, in taking a risk to speak up and voice your opinion or speak how you feel, it's been attacked, especially for indigenous men in all levels. Even the ones who coons, who don't say shit, they their moment is already here too. No matter how much they mask it, these niggas perform. A lot of these goofies, they just perform. I'm calling it out. A lot of these niggas just perform for certain people. Nigga, get out of here. The tide has shifted. You ain't no leader. Yeah, you lead people away. You lead them astray. But a real leader leads you to yourself. We coming back home. The fuck to ourselves. Fucking goofy ass people. Y'all trip me out. Emotional in a workspace. Emotional safety means an environment where employees feel safe. Come on, man. Y'all gotta realize, these coaches, these people, they set the tone. They set the tone for everything. Tone as in tune in. It's like a vibration. Set the tone. The intentions. You look at these sports and you look at all this shit, judging back from times where they never had people that was indigenous and now things have changed. Yeah, it's changed, but it ain't evolved. Because the core aspect of it, there ain't no clear intentions. There ain't no open communication. There ain't no validating your emotions and your feelings around what you want to change and so forth. And some of these goofy ass niggas are they right there in it. And that's why they reign of terror is coming to a close. I'm trying to tell you, I don't seen it. I don't seen it. This already don't happen. These folks gonna be, it's like a hammer of judgment. Like I said, these transits gonna expose so much. Can't hide from you.
I think that's all I want to cover though, because I really had to, like, emotional safety. I want y'all to pay attention to that now. Now you realize what you've been in the space of, what you've been playing a fool and performing for. Because what happens is this changes the whole value system within yourself, which shifts everything externally. You take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.